This morning's guest has been in the boxing ring more than 150 times, but he's one of the gentlest guys in the area. Who is he? You'll meet him coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the community room at South Carolina Bank and Trust in Murrells Inlet. We're focused on Christian mission outreach, and we're visiting with its founder and director, Jim McManus. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Greg. Hey, it's great to be with you.
Thank you for coming in, and this is so close to your house.
We get together again.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it seems like we had a 2-year hiatus.
Right.
Obviously, we took about a year and a half off, and you'd been on the air about a half year before we wrapped up that 3-year run of the show.
Right.
So it's a particular treat. I guess last time we were at the Herald's offices there on the former Air Force Base, and now here, close to your home. You're a hop, skip, and a jump away.
I can walk from home to here. That's right.
Early on a Wednesday morning, it's particularly good to get out.
That's right. That's right.
Early morning's not too tough on you, though, is it?
No, not too bad. Not after you retire, you know. Things change a little bit. You get up early then.
I've heard you talk about retiring for quite a long time.
Yeah,
Jim.
when you're in television, you like to sleep as long as you can. You need that sleep.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So to get out of television, then you can get up early. You got a lot more energy.
Now you were still in TV though, Jim. I mean, you still got your fingers in the pie to a good degree.
We still do a little what they call consulting. You know, if I have real terrible problems, they'll call me every now and again. Most of it is by telephone, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to do a lot of traveling because we're getting too old for that, you know.
But
anyway, hey, it's a beautiful life. I don't want to go back to it, start over again, but you know.
Right.
But I know you've had some great experiences in TV, and you did such a tremendous job with TV 43. And I congratulate you.
TV 43, WGSE. You know, I wanted to ask you, Jim, and we'll talk about that for a second. Did you ever know what the call letters stood for?
Don't know. Ask 1,000 times, but never did find out whether it had any significance or not.
Yeah, someone had talked about God's Son eternally.
Really?
Of course, you've heard that.
Yeah.
The Grand Strand everywhere, or maybe I'm not sure.
If you get a good one, hold on to it. That's right.
I'm going to stick with God's Son eternally.
That's right.
I think Reverend
That's
Thompson would have liked to have stuck it out with that. And of course, as you know, the excitement for me, almost every day I'm in my office looking up on my wall and seeing a shot of the two of us together back in February. No, not at all. That was such a great shot in February of '96, even before closing on. And of course, both of our lives have changed since then. I'm no longer in the TV business in that regard, and and you and I, neither of us have that direct relationship with Fox 43 anymore. It's so funny.
I miss it, but like I was telling them earlier, sort of like a hole in the head, because you know the challenges in TV and radio, and you get involved in the media, but let me tell you, you got to work. You know this. You
were doing live broadcasting every single night. Was it more than every single night? Was it during the day or just principally?
We did some days. We did nights. You know, over the years, we've done about every conceivable kind of live broadcasting there is.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if networks had to do what we used to do, doing a live production, say, doing a 60-minute program, and then having to do your live commercials to the split second on the air, ad lib, believe me, it's challenging.
You know, you think about folks in this market who helped get their start. Martha Hunt, who's now on WBTW.
Oh, yeah.
Nicole Boone, who's now on WBTW, both in their former lives, former broadcast lives, having gotten a start here on TV 43. And I try to think about folks, even John Charles, you know, who doing Asbury Williams, who were doing the medical pieces on the Nightline for such a long time there. It's amazing to keep those images of those guys from when they were on TV 43 on Nightline. Yeah,
you got to have a start somewhere, Greg, and you know it's extremely difficult to go to ABC, NBC, or CBS and say, hey, I want a job in television. Right. A quick thought. You might not remember the name of Sam Weich. Sam Weich was coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, took them to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, Sam came to me in Greenville, South Carolina, and said, Jim, hey, you don't know me, but says, I know you. He had seen me on television. He says, I want to get in television. He says, and I want to talk to you. He didn't want anybody to know. He was coming to me and saying, hey, Jim, help me to get in TV. So he came to me, Greg, and said, look, if anything you can do to help me to get started in TV, he says, because I want to be an announcer, an analyst, or commentator on one of the networks. He said, but you got to have a start. So I gave him a job as a sports announcer in Greenville, South Carolina. Later promoted him to sports director.
Really?
Later he went to, I believe it was San Diego, as a quarterback coach. They went to the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl. Then he was promoted to the head coach up at Cincinnati Bengals. They went to the Super Bowl while he was there. Later he went to Tampa Bay. He was coach there. But anyway, it was about 12, it seems like 12 or 13 years, I called my wife, Jan, hey Jan, come here just a minute. What do you want? She says, I'm in the kitchen cooking. Come here a minute, Jan. So she came in. I said, you see this guy on television?
Right.
Sam White. I said, he's a news commentator on I believe it's CBS. I said, it took him 12 years to get there after he started out with us as just an announcer.
That's amazing.
So, you know, a goal, having a goal, knowing where you're going.
Right, right.
And Sam lost his voice, and he's now coaching in Pickens, South Carolina with a high school, but he wants to get back into the network business where he can reach his years of retirement, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway.
You said he lost his voice, Jim.
Yeah.
I mean, to a great degree.
They severed one of his, he had an operation, I think, of some kind.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
He severed one of his vocal cords or something, but it's coming back. But anyway, the point you were making about Martha and some of these other individuals that started out, you know, at 43 and gone on to bigger things. Sam went to the network. You know, it's a...
That's fascinating, and to have played a part in that, I'm sure is a very uplifting feeling for you.
I don't know that I played a part.
Oh, well, yeah,
we gave
just
him
giving him that job.
Anyway.
We've got, Pete Sealer, our the Florence sales manager of Fox 43, who's now doing some consulting work, helping me out on a number of ventures. He, of course, had, interestingly, had a guy working for him, a name you may be familiar with, Paul Crouch, for many years. And then, unfortunately, Paul got a little... he was espousing too much. It was on a country music station there in South Dakota, and Pete actually had to fire him. And of course, Paul went on to do great things with Trinity Broadcasting and otherwise. But it's amazing, you know, as folks get started in the different trials and tribulations they have on air or wherever they are.
Sure, you know, while we were in Greenville, South Carolina, Jim Baker and Tammy Baker, they came there, wanted to start their ministry.
Sure.
They're at our operation.
Did they really? On WGGS?
Yeah, and I worked with Jim and Tammy. But anyway, their objectives and their goals weren't the same as ours.
Right.
And he went on to Charlotte. And incidentally, his two top production men, and Lucky Dog might want to hire them, but anyway, Dale Hill and I'll think of his name, Sam Orander.
Right.
Both of these two individuals were the people that did all his production, Jim Baker's. I trained them.
You're kidding, at WGGS?
Yeah.
He came down to try to get on GGS, and when he took off, he took them with him.
Yeah, he went to California with Paul Crouch. Started, they started PTL out there. Jim was the president, and then he got put out. And all he got was he came back to us, and all he had was a tape. He said, I got one tape left anyway. But he came back to 16 there in Greenville, and at which time Dale Hill, who was my production manager, Dale went with him and said, look, Jim, if you'll release me, I want to go to Charlotte with Jim Baker and Tammy to start the program there. So he did. And then later he hired my next production manager that I'd trained, Sam Orander, and Sam went with him. And later came back and hired my chief engineer. So we trained all of his top people.
That's hilarious, Jim. And speaking of that, a lot of Jims in there. Jimmy Thompson.
That's right.
Of course, Reverend Thompson, Jim Baker, and Jim McManus. That's an interesting coincidence there. And, of course, you've got ties not only to Greenville, South Carolina, but didn't you spend a good bit of your life in the Greenville, North Carolina area?
We had a radio station there, and we had our Christian mission outreach there for a number of years. We sure did. And we had a couple of other radio stations, and we were involved. I was the president of East Coast Media, and we did our missions work there. And then we got into missions work back in 1982, Greg. Of course, I'd done missions work for many, many years, but we started Christian mission outreach in 1982.
Is that right? I don't think I knew it was 25 years old
25 years this year.
Y'all are so do a little add-on to
it's just about as old as you are, Greg.
Well, it's got a couple of years to catch up there, but to think about that, Jim, 25 years this year, I did not know that.
It's a long time.
I should be asking questions about what are we doing for the 25th year anniversary to think about.
Yeah, what would be good? You're a great
We're going to have to talk to Donald and Sherry and come up with some good ideas of ways to highlight that, because that is a big milestone.
It's
all the efforts
milestone,
that you and Jan have put in, and of course all the other folks that have been actively involved with Christian Mission Outreach over the years.
We thank the Lord for that, Greg. We sure do. People like you, Greg. A lot of people don't know what all of the many things that you've done for the community.
No, let's not talk about that. That's very kind. We want to talk instead about the many, many things the Christian Mission Outreach is doing on a daily basis for viewers who need to get off to school or off to work right now. What's the best number if someone wanted to call in and learn more about Christian Mission Outreach and everything you all are doing in the community?
They can give us a call at our operation, 293-2411. We're listed in the telephone directory, Christian Mission Outreach.
And that's
293-2411.
And y'all's offices are very close to the former back gate of the Air Force Base. That's 843-293-2411, 2411. That's great. Again, it's just for folks that need to take off. Of course, we talk about 843 because you've got folks all over the PD in southeastern North Carolina and other parts of North Carolina that are still actively committing dollars to enable y'all's mission to grow and sustain its strength in the area.
We do most of our work here in the Grand Strand area, of course, Greg, Horry and Georgetown counties. And we have outreaches in North Carolina.
Right.
We still have outreaches in the eastern North Carolina area and in Maryland and in Atlanta, And so we still do a lot of mission work going outside of our area here. However, we're concentrating here on the Grand Strand.
Sure. Well, I remember about in the late 90s, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, a big group that was coming together for a night you all had at Dixie Stampede. And I want to say a lot of those folks were coming in from Robeson County.
Really, yeah.
Robeson, Scotland, Columbus County. You had a big busload coming in for an event you all had put on and gotten Dixie Stampede, I remember, to donate. And, of course, some things that you do that are not just related to Christian Mission Outreach, but just relating to helping others in other areas as well.
This is true, Greg. Jesus taught his disciples, and a disciple is a follower of Christ. So I've been a follower of Christ for many, many years. And so he said, if you'll do these things, feed the hungry, clothe the naked and the needy, minister to the fatherless and the widows in their sickness, take care of them, and visit those that are in prison. We've been doing this for 25 years. Now, I said, you know, and I know I've been in television and radio for many, many years.
More years than that.
That's been the way that we've made our living. And while we were doing that, we've had other businesses we've run on the side. Like yourself, you're not only involved in one or two businesses, but many. And so our objective and our goal now is to be able to help people as Christ taught his disciples. And there are many ways you can do this. Jan and I. Of course, my wife, Jan.
Yeah, please, share with you. Jan
and I, we still have a prison ministry after 25 years. This past Saturday, we were in Bennettsville at the prison there. And it's something that we just feel that we are called to do,
What prompted that call, Jim? I mean, what...
well, it was just in the book of Matthew and the Bible, these are the things Jesus said. He said, if you'll do these things, he says, you'll be my followers. These are the things I want you to do.
I remember you all have been doing the prison ministry for a long time. What all's involved in that, Jim, and how deep do you all get in? I mean, is that just the extent of that? Please share with the viewers.
Well, it's going into the prisons, ministering one-on-one, or sometimes we'll minister to a bull ring, or sometimes you'll minister to a group. It varies according to the area that you're ministering in. And it's all just biblical teachings, If it says I was in prison, and you visited me, or you visited me not. And so this is just something we feel like we want to do, is to visit those that are in prison that we know, or visit if you've ever been to a prison, which you've not, if you go, make sure you're on the outside. But when you go, you'll find many of these people, they never have a visitor. They never have anybody to come to see them. We were in prison this past Saturday, and we ran into two people from here, that from the Myrtle Beach area. And they say there's nothing in the world compares to, say, getting a letter. It's such a highlight. And then for somebody to visit, it's extremely special. And I've heard that, if you plan to go to see someone and they know you're coming, and you don't get there, it's the biggest letdown in their life,
Wow.
So you can imagine, it's sort of like the nursing homes. Very few visitors, very few people on the outside that go and visit and make them feel good.
I'm glad you mentioned that.